Alright, let's get ready to replace the seal on this steering box that was removed from the vehicle. I took some time to refurbish this unit because you always want to be handling a clean unit. So regardless of when you take this unit out, you're going to have to get it cleaned down. And since it's in the process of drying, you're going to want to just shoot some paint on it. But this front piece here is to signify that it's aluminum, and this is cast iron. This is also cast iron, but I think it just looked cool with that color match. So these are the 4 bolts that we remove. We on torque, and the steering box is still on the frame rail, and now you can see how easy they are to remove. Instead, you would have been fighting with this thing on the ground if you didn't have a vise. We have the 4 bolts removed. We simply want to take a mallet. That'll be a rubber mallet. Want to make sure we get to the shaft. We're going to remove the shaft and its paw gear. This is called a paw gear. This is what rides on this rack on the inside when the steering wheel is turned. So we basically want to perform an inspection on the shaft, which we already did. We want to make sure we restore a smooth surface on the shaft. There should be no channel or groove where the seal and the bearing rides. So you're going to have 2 bearings up here, 2 needle roller bearing, then the oil seal down here, and the water and dirt seal. This is an O-ring to seal the top, and up here is an adjuster. We're going to talk about this later on. You just want to look in here, we can see the roller bearing. That is what gives the shaft support when it has to make any turns. So I want to remove this first seal. This first seal is the water and dirt seal. And what I'm going to use is this hook. It's called a hook and alignment bar. I just want to hook the lip to the back of this seal, and then I'm going to tap it from the other end. You can also hammer it in position. I just saw it move. That's it. This is the water and dirt seal. So this cannot be removed. This C-clip cannot be removed while this shaft is installed. The shaft has to be removed. So this C-clip can also be removed. You don't want to use this needle nose, this 45 angle needle nose, for removing this clip, because what's going to end up happening is most of the time you're going to slip, and you're going to chamfer the inside hole of the clip, making it more difficult to remove with this tool. So this is something you're really going to have to invest in. It's the best for C-clip removal. And this is a Stanley needle nose circular clip plier. So let's go ahead and remove this C-clip. This should be pretty straightforward and simple. You want to close the clip in. Then you want to find a center in the bore, because as you can see back here, the clip is still jammed up in the groove. So we have to move this clip out into the center. Then we could lift it up for removal. Once we have removed the clip, place it in our parts tray. Now we just want to remove this washer. This washer is basically a backing, a support for this seal that we are now going to remove. This is the oil seal, the hydraulic oil seal that the leak is happening from. When we replace this seal, the leak will automatically go away. Well, I already have a replacement seal for here that I've already spec'd out with my micrometer tool, and this will be the seal. It's stock number T1050. It's a Toyota transmission front seal. The size is 30 by 45 by 8. So this is a universal seal that can be used for the oil seal. And when I remove that seal, we're going to compare it to this new one to see the difference. We just want to pass a rag in here. This will allow us to soak up all of our solvent. So the spray that I used to clean out in here is a brake fluid. And I want to take the seal that I have. It's going to be lightly coated with oil. I just want to fit it by hand. Now we have it seated perfect. I'm going to take a socket. This is a 35mm socket. I'm simply going to brace it on the sides. So we have to drive this past the ring and a little bit beyond. So we have to check our seal when we're installing. And as we can see, this seal has been damaged because it's a bit oversized and it got folded by the C-clip groove. So I'm going to completely install this seal, but I want to see how the shaft is going to fit in here. All right. Try it on the other side. Alright, this is not successful. That's because we're using an aftermarket seal. I'm going to have to get a genuine Nissan seal. Now it's time for us to remove the newly damaged seal. So here is how you can see how the seal is damaged. See all this indentation. It's going to change the position of the lip of the seal, and that is what all these wave form is what will cause a leak. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to take this spring off of here. When you're cleaning the seal, you don't want to use any kind of brake fluid or carburetor cleaner. You just want to use nice soap and water. You want to take a pick and go behind this groove and clean out any dirt that may lodge inside this cavity. As we saw before when we removed this seal, how the spring was corroded. Well, this is a much heavier spring I have in my hand here, and you can see we also put some damage on the spring, but we're going to still use it. So we just want to install this in here, and we're going to fit it into the steering box. I could already see we have some compression on the top that will be up here, so it looks like it's going to seal good. But again, we have to try it on a shaft. Okay. It's a little loose, but I'm gonna have to work with what we have here. I have a feeling it's because of this damage on this side, here. Alright, so let's install this. It shouldn't be hard to install because we took it out of there. So I want to go crooked on it, because I want to get past that that O-ring groove. Okay, so you can see what I did here wrong. This is installed backwards. Has to be the other way. So I'm showing you all of this just in the event you should install it backwards. You're going to know the difference, because remember, now you're seeing a nice flat black stock here, whereas before we saw the spring from inside of the seal. So you just want to make sure you tap this down until it's nicely fitted. Let's reinstall this plastic guide that we originally thought was a seal. Let's place back this reinforcement washer. We can see this is going to go like this, because you can see the imprint on the C-clip at the end. You always have to look for your traces. This side was definitely down on the seal. Now we have our C-clip. Take our tool. That's what we want. Now we're going to use power steering hydraulic fluid for any lube that we're going to have to place inside on the rollers or on the seal and the shaft for assembly. It's time for installing the shaft, and what we want to basically look for is we want to make sure this 3-tooth on the paw gear is in this slot right here, and we're going to just pass this shaft down. You want to be gentle with this because you don't want to damage the seal, and you want to make sure it's inserted. Okay, now we're going to replace our bolts. These bolts will get torqued to approximately 25 to 28 foot-pounds, and this is going to be done once the unit is reinstalled and final torque to the frame rail. Our last replacement seal is this water and dirt seal. This is the existing water and dirt seal that was removed from this unit, and it was partially repaired. We're also going to reuse this. So we just want to fit that in position. Now that we have the dirt and water seal installed, we're ready to go make our installation for testing on the refurbished hydraulic steering box. Our final part in assembling the steering gearbox is we want to talk about this adjuster screw. This adjuster screw is what supports this shaft at the top, and at the bottom is the needle roller bearing. So we only have two support for this shaft in its housing. That will be the needle roller bearing and this Allen screw that comes out from the shaft itself. That is what gives the shaft stability in the housing, and then the paw gear just dances itself on the rack that moves back and forth. So in order to make the adjustment on this Allen screw, we must first establish that we have some form of lash on the paw gear against its rack. And what we want to do is we just want to turn on this input shaft. We just want to play with it back and forth a little to see if we have any intermittent play. In this condition, we do not have any intermittent play because the Pitman arm shaft and the steering shaft has a same movement. There is no lag behind. But if there was a lag behind, meaning when this shaft is turned, the input shaft, the Pitman arm shaft will take a little bit and then turn. That will mean there will be a lash between the paw gear and the rack. What we're going to have to do is we're going to have to use a 5/8 wrench to unlock this locker nut, and this we're going to turn counterclockwise. Once we have unlocked this nut, then we're going to use our Allen tool and we're going to place it into the screw. To decrease the lash for the paw gear, you want to turn this Allen screw clockwise. To increase the lash between the paw gear and the rack, you want to turn this Allen screw counterclockwise. When you have made your final setting, you will then lock this Allen screw with this 5/8 nut by holding the Allen screw in its position and locking the nut. Another thing I want to discuss with you is when you're going to be taking this cover off, approximately half a quart of oil is going to come out of the steering box. So when you're going to be replacing this unit and you finish rebuilding it, you're going to want to also pour a half a quart of hydraulic. Then we're going to want to stand the housing up on the floor, bracing it against the wall. And what we're looking for is any oil to get past this seal and start coming down on this shaft. This will help us identify if there's any existing leak before we can install the hydraulic steering gearbox.